This final video gives a recap of chapters 22 and 23 of The Giver, along with a little explanation about the ending of this story. In the last chapter, Jonas and Gabriel have run away from the community. Jonas took Gabriel on a bike, and they have biked past all of the neighboring communities. Knowing this is the end of the book, Jonas and Gabriel's journey has come to some sort of end. Lowry uses a lot of imagery, words to describe in detail how things look, feel, and sound, to describe how their journey is changing. So here's the sequence of events for chapters 22 and 23. First, Jonas notices that the landscape is changing. The road has gotten narrower, or thinner. There are more rocks, more trees, thicker forests, wild flowers, waterfalls, and animals. Jonas thinks this new world is beautiful, especially compared to the sameness that he grew up with, but he's also worried that they might starve. Lowry first uses the word starve in a physical way, to mean not getting enough food. But then Jonas thinks about starve in a spiritual way. If he stayed in the community, he would have food, but he would be starving for feelings, for color, and for love. As they're traveling, the weather starts to change. Jonas experiences rain for the first time, and he learns that after getting so cold and wet, it's hard to get dry again. Both Gabriel and Jonas feel hungry, cold, and weak. Jonas is only thinking about saving Gabriel now. Remember, this chapter is happening in December. For Jonas's part of the world, this means winter. As Jonas continues his journey, the air gets colder. Jonas and Gabriel are freezing, starving, and exhausted. Jonas and Gabriel experience snow. Here is how Lowry describes Gabriel at this point. Gabriel's curly hair was matted and filthy, and there were tear stains outlined in dirt on his pale cheeks. His eyes were closed. We can imagine how miserable and dirty this poor baby feels and looks. Jonas and Gabriel climb up a very steep hill. Jonas tries to keep them warm with memories, but it just leaves them feeling colder. Keep in mind that as they are going up this steep and snowy hill, Jonas and Gabriel are not wearing proper winter attire. In their community, they didn't have winter. They didn't have cold weather. So Jonas is probably wearing something very simple and thin, like a shirt and pants. And poor Gabriel is probably wearing nothing much better than that either. As Jonas is carrying Gabriel up the steep, snowy hill, the writing changes tone. Tone is the mood that an author gives his or her writing by choosing certain words. Up to this point, Lowry has used words like impeded, resignation, lethargy, cold, numb, trudged. These words are used when something is so difficult that it slows us down or makes us stop, and so it definitely creates this mood in her writing. But then Jonas makes it to the top of the hill. The ground is level, so he's no longer having to climb up. Now we're seeing the words light, warmth, swirled, briskly, flooded. And Jonas suddenly starts to feel happy. These are words that make us think of movement and joy. Now, the very end of the story can be read in many ways. If we assume that Lowry was writing a very simple story that is very concrete, it would go like this. At the top of the hill, Jonas finds a sled. Jonas and Gabriel slide down the hill. Jonas is having trouble staying awake, but as he goes down the hill, Jonas sees holiday lights decorating houses just like he saw in his memory of love from the giver. Jonas is sure that at the bottom of the hill he will find a loving house like the one from his memory, and that they will welcome him and baby Gabriel. The sled takes them down the hill faster and faster, and then he hears people singing. Suddenly he's able to hear beyond, just like the giver. The end. If we believe that this is the way we should read the story, then Jonas probably does find a very nice family who cares for him and baby Gabriel. What a lovely and simple ending to the story! They were able to run away from the community that did not let them truly live, and now the two boys live happily ever after. However, a lot of people think that the ending is not so simple and might be a bit darker. When Jonas is trudging up the cold, snowy hill, he almost gives up hope. Then he starts to feel numb but happy. What if those are Jonas's last conscious moments? What if the sled and the lights and the singing are all a dream as Jonas loses consciousness? He might still be hearing beyond, but he might just be dreaming about the loving memory given to him by the giver. If this is the end of the story, then Jonas and Gabriel are sure to die from starvation and exposure to cold. And although this would be a sad ending for the main character, perhaps it's not too tragic. At least he was able to make a choice to live the life he thought would be more fulfilling. Remember, he said that if he decided to stay in this community, Jonas would be starving in a different way. As the reader, you have the power to decide how you want to read this story and how you want to read this ending. It's ambiguous. You can interpret the story in many different ways. It's not exact. The author is able to give us the words, but she can't make you interpret the story a certain way. And Lois Lowry did this on purpose. In an interview, the author talked about how the ending of her book was not simple. This is a quote: "I had liked the ambiguity of it, and the fact that it led one to wonder and to think about the characters. But young readers don't seem to want that. I would have liked it as a child, I think, but we live in times that are in many ways ambiguous. Maybe that's why kids want precision in what they read. They don't like that moral ambiguity." Well, however you feel about it, that's the end of The Giver, written by Lois Lowry. Thank you for watching my videos. Please let me know what books that I should make videos about next.